dads will love it the way they handle it, but it's a really beautiful tale about being fathers and stuff like that. But since they have daughters, it might touch down on you a little bit more.
Yeah. That a little better?
Yeah, you look good, man.
No, not so backlit.
I like that you're wearing a hoodie again. That is a nice hoodie. I need to get one of those. I need to get Command Red.
Yep. It was a Christmas present from my parents a couple years back.
Yeah, I gotta find one. I liked Casey's last night too. Because I always like that.
Oh, yeah. the what do you call that uniform? It's I like that one because it's the one that looks most like an actual military uniform.
Yes, and I was just like, but I also like the evolution of that uniform and how it kind of went from everybody wore it to cadets wore it.
Mm-hmm.
I liked how it just kind of still filtered down, so the cadets in the Starfleet Academy would still wear it, so that way they had they still looked military.
Mm-hmm.
I did not like how they changed it for JJ's Star Trek. I didn't like their red uniforms.
Yeah, they're more like what were they? They were more like a
jacket and
like a
red pantsuit type thing. I just wasn't a huge fan of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I am going to intro the show now, but we are talking Star Trek, so that's fine. We're doing a good job there. All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Scene Snobs Podcast Live. It is Tuesday night, and it is Star Trek week, night 3. If you have missed our previous 2 night shows, live events, we had a reading of the Star Trek The Next Generation episode Cupid on Sunday with a very full cast and very awesome people all joining in. So please go check that out. And then last night we did the World of Star Trek discussion panel where we brought on experts in their fields to come on and talk about the world of Star Trek and how it can maybe exist today. We had a very good discussion about all of that, and we discussed our love for Star Trek. So go check out any one of those now. They are on the YouTube channel, which please subscribe, or you can go check them out in podcast format on anywhere that you listen to your podcasts. And please rate and review us. We appreciate that. So tonight, we are continuing Star Trek. And I brought on probably the guy who knows most about Star Trek in my world. We were roommates for a very long time, and Star Trek always seemed to be on. And he taught me a lot about Star Trek. He is an awesome dude, one of my best friends in the world, and a Star Trek aficionado, Mr. Joe Loud. What's going on, buddy?
Not much,
Not much today.
Lockdowns, not much happening anywhere.
Just Star Trek then.
Yep.
Well, thank you for being on the show, man, and I really appreciate this. It's always fun to talk to you. We go back a long ways to film school.
Yep.
Where we met for the first time, and you said, "Hi, my name's Joe Loud," and I was like, "No way, no, it's not." And it is Joe Loud. So Joe and I go back. He is a visual effects artist. You may have seen him on the show before. We brought him on, and he always offers a lot of awesome insights on a lot of things. That's why I brought him on for Star Trek today, because he will do the same. I will learn something. I know it. So with that being said, I want to shout out to our sponsor for tonight's Star Trek episode, and that is Skyline Indie Film Festival. Next week, 10th through the 13th, the Skyline Indie Film Festival is happening. Support indie filmmaking. Go get your passes now. If you go to thescenesnobs.com, we have a link that you can click right over to and get. You can buy individual passes for what movies you want to watch, or you can buy a season pass for that way you can watch all. I think it's like 70 movies they have out, and I've watched quite a few of them because we are sponsoring that event, but they are sponsoring tonight's episode. So kind of cross sponsorship. So go check it out. And also next week we will be doing live Skyline interviews and things like that on the Scene Snobs. So we were very excited about that as well. And we are doing with Scripts Gone Wild, the what's it called? The Princess Bride script reading. So that's going to be very exciting. I am also in that. Now I am bragging way too much because my friend is here and I want to talk to him. So let's get down to Star Trek.
All right.
Joe, what's going on, man? I have a few subjects to talk to you about tonight that I think will be interesting, and we've long debated one of these things.
Yeah.
And I've definitely come around to see it your way, but I want to rank the captains of Star Trek, and I want to add, any peripheral captains you think deserve to be on that list. We'll keep it at 10. If we don't keep it at 10, we'll be here all night. So I want to go over, and I'm going to kind of, I'm going to bow down to you on this a little bit, and you tell me who you think at least deserves to be on the list, and then we can rank from there.
Well, I mean, obviously there's kind of the big five of the original series, Kirk, Picard, Sisko, Janeway, and Archer. I mean, Jellicoe is a we've talked about him before. Trying to think of who else.
When we get to, if he's in the top 10, if we get to that ranking, I am going to fight hard for him.
Well, I guess, but I was only thinking about the main five there, because I mean those are the ones I'm most familiar with. So a lot of the peripheral ones, I have to see what you say there.
Well, I mean, you have Sulu. You have Sulu.
Sulu, yes.
We have, I mean, you could put Spock. Spock was a captain at the time.
That's true.
So, I mean, you can add, as long as they've held the rank of captain, they were a captain in the world of Star Trek. So they kind of get a pass to be in there. Even Scotty was a captain at one point. Worf was a captain.
Oh yeah.
So it's really, and I don't know if you want to do it, but because we haven't seen him in action, I would put Riker on there, because even his very short piece, because we didn't really see him get to captain other than the times that he took over the Enterprise during the show.
Yeah.
But he did get the Titan at the end of, or at the beginning of Nemesis. And then we saw him in Picard. He was an admiral, but he was an acting captain at the time. So I think he's had enough screen time as a captain where he could be kind of put in there. How about I mean, but like, you can't say Geordi. Geordi is now a captain too, but he was barely seen. He was just mentioned as a captain.
Yeah.
But it has been, they have said, the writers of Star Trek, the new series, Picard, that Worf is the captain of the Enterprise. So.
And the other Captain Picard.
Oh God.
Beverly Picard.
Beverly Picard, that is true.
And she did take a few shifts running the bridge sometimes. So
you got to give it to her. Oh man. But there's other captains too. Like, I mean, we have captains in the Klingons or the Romulans, and such. Or do we just want to stick with Starfleet?
I don't want to get too far out in there.
Fair. That's very fair. Yeah. One day we should just sit down off camera, just try and figure out who is the most effective captain. Not the best, the most effective. Because let's face facts, Picard is the worst. We all know this. It just happens. I'm pissing off whoever's watching right now. But well, there's something to be said about that. And let's start this with Sisko and Picard, because they started out adversarial. And then, came back around and Sisko had more respect for him, but they were two very different captains. Who do you rank above who?
Well, I mean, I'm admittedly I'm completely biased because Picard's my favorite. And Sisko was very like he had a different kind of a situation, you know, that Picard was more of an explorer. He was out there, you know, finding new worlds and new civilizations. But Sisko had kind of, he was, you know, helping the Bajorans rebuild their society. Mm-hmm. So they had kind of different jobs. So the way we saw them, we didn't really see Picard much in a kind of a conflict situation where we saw Sisko in that. So Sisko had to make a lot of tough decisions, and so I mean, Picard did we really see? I don't think there was never really a war. There were some, you know, there were combat situations with Picard, but he didn't. They did some stuff with Maquis and the Cardassians and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, and yeah, so I would say you're right. If it's more Sisko, like maybe not, his reach wasn't as far grasp as like Picard's, but he was dealing with a lot of things all at once.
Yeah,
like, Picard generally only had to deal with one issue at a time. Whereas Sisko was keeping the peace. And that's why I would probably rank him higher. Again, this isn't a best captains list. This is a, you know, who's the better captain? No, who's the more effective, I think we should stick with at this time. And for the time, I would say that would probably be Sisko, because although Picard was very challenged in his new series, so that kind of gets some credit there.
Yeah.
If we still want to count them as the captain, you know.
Oh yeah. He got promoted, didn't he?
He was an admiral, yeah, because remember he became an ambassador to Romulus.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
yeah, it's tough because there definitely would be my top 1 and 2, honestly. That if I put Picard first, Sisko's a close second to me.
All right, well, let's table them then, because I feel like that is a tough one, and we got the rest of the list to go through. So who's your number 3?
Number 3 would probably be Kirk.
Okay.
Where I would put Kirk, and I'm thinking mostly of the movies Kirk, because the Kirk of the original show is very 60s. I'm watching it again recently, and it's sometimes I kind of like what am I watching? It's you know, it's where it all started. It established everything that we love, but you know, in the first season they you know, they were still figuring it out. They were trying to figure out what everything is, and you know, there's a lot of inconsistencies with stuff that got established later that kind of doesn't totally make sense with the original series. I am kind of going off on a tangent. I'm just talking about Kirk, really. The Kirk of the movies, though, is what I favor, because I think that's a fair comparison to the other ones, because they're closer in time to the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine. So he's the one who I think of when I'm thinking of Kirk.
But what about, okay, so if we're going to say Kirk, are we counting not just Shatner's Kirk, but Pine's Kirk too?
Well, I guess I wasn't considering Pine's Kirk.
Or is he his own entity to be on this list? Is he his own entity, like his own captain to be on the list?
I would think it's probably fair to consider them two different characters, because the point was, you know, that the timeline changed, and made Kirk into a different person almost, you know. So he had a different upbringing. So
that's a fair, yeah. I mean, his father died in the alternative universe. So all right, I'll agree to that. Let's make him his own. And so you're sticking with Shatner Kirk for third?
yeah.
I'm gonna go with, and only for a short period of time, ahead of Kirk. And you know how much I love Kirk, so but effective wise, because he just seemed more seasoned, is Captain Pike.
Oh, the which one?
I'm gonna go with the.
Well, is it the Discovery one?
Yeah, I'll go with Anson Mount's.
I have to admit I haven't watched Discovery all the way through.
I like it, and I like.
I want to like it. I want to keep going with it, but I just like I always run out of steam after the first few episodes, and then I don't pick. I have the first season on Blu-ray. I bought it because I want to support Trek and I want to watch it. I just haven't gotten a chance to do it yet. I've gotten myself to, and I feel bad about it because I mean I enjoyed Picard, but yeah, Discovery I've had a hard time sticking with. So and as for my judgments on any of the captains on those shows, it's going to be fuzzy for me. I haven't seen a whole lot of them.
Okay, so then you are saying Jellicoe is number one.
Yes.
Okay, good. Ariel from Ride the Omnibus Podcast is commenting along. Ariel, please keep the comments coming. Thank you for watching. She has been a great guest the past couple of nights. Really appreciated all your help, and you have a great podcast. Anybody watching? But I'm going to read this comment when we go back to the Picard Cisco debate.
Okay.
Because it's going to take it's very prevalent to that, and I want to add to it. So let's kind of power through. Okay, so I'll agree with you then, because you haven't seen the Anson Mount Pike. Let's stick Kirk, Shatner's Kirk, in the third spot.
Okay.
But I will argue for Pike being at least in the fourth spot.
Okay.
Especially, you know, when the fans jumped on it and now they're getting their own show because of it. So that should be exciting to be able to go back and see the Enterprise before Kirk in a show. Are we considering what's his name, the La Serena captain from Picard?
Oh, yeah, I forget his name. The one with all the emergency holograms.
That looked just like him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was pretty good captain. I wouldn't put him in the top 5. Would you put Janeway in the top 5?
Well, like I said, I was only thinking of the 5 main series. So I was when I was thinking about the question, I was only thinking about them. But I don't know about top 5. If we're expanding, you know, the list, I don't know about top 5, just because Janeway was frustratingly inconsistent, you know, like she was not, like she was written in, she did all these weird things, like I remember, I believe it's the first episode, she leaves the bridge and goes down to engineering and like looks down the warp reactor, like it's like she's got to get her hands on things, and like I guess I get what you're trying to do with the character, you know, like make her like she's hands on, she knows how, like, cool, she doesn't need to go down there. I guess wasn't it that the main engineer died? Wasn't, actually, now that I think about it,
he might have. It's been a long time.
because I think wasn't B'Elanna Maquis? Wasn't she one of the Maquis? And then she took over engineering because the main engineer died?
I believe so. Again, I have to watch Voyager. It's been a very long time.
Well, and
it wasn't one of my favorites in the series.
Yeah, Janeway I was like, I appreciated what they were trying to do, but I think they didn't do a good job with her. So, they didn't do a good job with almost anybody on Voyager. So a lot of
honorable mention. We'll keep her in the top 10, but
yeah, okay.
Yes, Ariel said that. Yes, Blana. I don't remember her name.
Lana Torres.
Lana Torres was Mackey. So that's that's been a while. I need to rewatch Voyager. I need to rewatch Voyager and Enterprise. And Santos was the name of the captain of the La Serena from. So I liked him though. I thought he was a pretty good captain. A little bit insane, but I dug it. So I think Jellicoe deserves to be on the list, man.
Sure.
Got the job done. He got the job.
We could debate about it, but we've had many arguments about it before. about Jellicoe.
But here's the thing: so many people don't like Jellicoe because the crew didn't like him, and it was a charge led by the Riker. And I'm not against Riker. Listen, I like Riker as much as the next guy. But Riker is a bit of a dick. So I can understand why maybe somebody in authority doesn't really like coming on and then having his authority questioned.
Yeah.
Because he was cool with Troy. He was cool with Troy. So Arrow says that Jellicoe is the antithesis of Starfleet. Is he the antithesis though? I don't know. That's a good thought. I wonder. But he was still.
I don't know, because he was sort of like he was like a military strategist, and that's why they put him in that position, right? Because he was dealing with the Cardassians.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess Starfleet would need to have people like that because you're going to be running into hostile races, and you might find yourself in some kind of a war that you couldn't avoid.
Technically, Section 31 is the antithesis of Starfleet.
Yes, that's true.
And he would be. I mean, he's not a. I could see him working closely with Section 31, or because he is a military strategist, like you said.
We've talked about it before, but I think one of the things I always found annoying about him was how it was a petty thing. It was a lot of petty little things. It's like he was always trying to get everybody to change how they did everything. And I would argue that it's better to let people do things the way they have been doing them. And they're going to be more like, if you're changing up everybody's sleep schedules or whatever, their shift schedules, there's going to lead to more. It's like daylight savings time. You change people's sleep patterns. It messes with their readiness. I felt like his choice to change the shifts was going to hinder the efficiency of the Enterprise more than it would make it more efficient. But that's just one thing.
But there's an argument against that for management stuff. We should have just made this not rank the captains. We should have made this, okay, Jellicoe, effective captain or no.
We can do that.
To a management style where a brand new manager comes in and kind of changes things up, to kind of test the abilities of, let's like if you equate it like a new manager at a store, walks in and then he changes things up because maybe he was at a different store and he's doing things completely different. Now, if things were running well at the store, he's just doing it to maybe test them, push them to their brink, and to see how well they can work under pressure, because he has to see it firsthand going into a situation with the Kardashians. So, I mean, there's something to be said about that. It didn't help that Riker was kind of douchey in that episode.
It was a little petulant about.
Yeah, and like, because he came off like, because I don't even think that Jellicoe initially had a problem with.
He left Starfleet because his captain was giving him some orders to change some things. It's like, really, like that whole thing was kind of like, I can understand, like I mentioned before, Steve Shives, he did a video on Captain Jellicoe, and so that if you go check that out, sometime.
Well.
But yeah, I mean, he got the job done. You know, it's the way they wrote the episode. He got them Kardashians. You know.
I will tell you, he did get those Kardashians. We got to give him that. But so I think Jellicoe deserves to be on the list just for his small time on the. Okay.
Oh yeah, he had a presence, even though he was only there for two part. It was a 2-part episode, right?
Yeah. So let's give him. I say we give him number 10.
Okay.
There's going to be people who are pissed off that we even put him on the list. So we need. So we've Kirk at 3. We have what's his name at Pike at 4. So we need 5 through 9. All right. Here's my quick ones to go over real quick before we get on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
We have. I'm going to say Riker should go at 5.
Okay.
Just for that badass speech he gave him, Picard. And he's
just for the Enterprise finale.
Yeah, absolutely. He was there, and he was in the holodeck. So why not? Not on the bridge. He was just on the holodeck. He's still dreaming about being on the Enterprise so much that he put it on the holodeck and didn't even do his own crew. So no, I'll give him for his appearance in Picard, his appearance in Enterprise. Why not? And the times he did serve as captain, and he was offered captain like 4 times, and he turned it down. So he's a well-established captain. And I will forget the petulant child of Will Riker in those episodes, and I will also forget when he got Q powers and became a douche. And I will put Riker at number 5 for me. What do you think?
Okay, sure. I'll go with
All
that.
right. So I'm going to give it to Sulu for 6.
Okay.
We have the battle of Kittimar.
Yeah.
So, he's at least got a little bit of a battle readiness to him, kind of. So we got. So I would put Sulu as on screen. As far as on-screen captains go, I'll give it to Sulu. Now I'm going to go with 6, only because we know it's canon, and he ends up the captain of the Enterprise, and we got to see him captain some things. Worf.
Wait, or we should be on 7, right?
7, that's right. Yeah, Worf for 7.
Okay.
I mean, he is a warrior, man. he's always ready to go in action, and he looks damn good in that uniform. So.
And he told Picard he'd kill him twice.
Yeah, he also told him. Remember, he told him to shut up when he was his representative in his hearing. He's like, "You'll be quiet."
Which one was that?
That was in the one where he saves his own brother and he accepts exile.
Oh, then the Klingon thing.
Yeah. Remember, Picard was his.
His representative.
And then he told him to shut up. He was just like, "Just shut up." That's really funny. So, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about Worf as captain? I mean, he didn't do too well in the battle with the Borg in First Contact, but
well, he had a tough little ship.
He did have a tough little ship. It's true.
And he's gonna ram him.
And because we put Jellicoe at 10, why don't we give Janeway 9?
Janeway 9, sure.
So just because she did learn a lot about other species on the Delta Quadrant.
Yeah.
So
she managed to negotiate with the Borg, I guess.
Sure, why not? I mean, that's a thing. All right. So who do we have for number 8? Who's our number 8 captain?
I mean, would you put Archer in there?
Oh shit! I forgot about Archer. All right, let's move everybody back 1 and then put Archer right after
number 1.
No,
everybody just gets shit.
He should definitely go before Riker, considering Riker was like on the holodeck trying to all of his adventure.
Yeah.
And the only thing I will give Archer, a lot of people didn't like him and didn't love the series. And yeah, he didn't emote perfectly, but whatever, he's got back to it. He at least, Archer deserves respect for being the first starship captain of a test starfleet.
Yeah, like he was treading new ground. He was the first ever, you know. So I think that there were, you know, there was you think of the way things are today and the idealistic vision of the future that next gen and so on was, they kind of had to bridge the gap there. So
Yeah.
you know, somebody who is kind of you know, has the ideals of the future, but is still kind of grounded in the past, and yeah.
Well, and also I think he deserves the respect because of what he did. Like he was dealing with a lot more adversaries just because he was human.
Mm-hmm.
Taking over this new enterprise, this flagship for them, and a lot of even the allies of the Federation before the Federation didn't. Not that they, well, yeah, they didn't trust him, but it was because they didn't really trust humans fully.
Yeah.
So he had a lot on his shoulders there too. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
like, I have people who want to kill me out there that I haven't even met yet.
Yeah.
And then I have others that are on my side, are supposed to be on my side, not pulling for me, you know?
Yeah.
So I think he deserves at least that much for opening the door for everybody.
Yeah, wasn't there kind of some subplot about like the Vulcans kind of holding them back, like kind of underhandedly withholding things from them or something? I can't. It's been a long time since I watched the show, but there were things, because like they had T'Pol on there who was supposed to be reporting back to the Vulcans.
And there was also supposed to be that they were, because it was kind of set up in the first episode even, in a way that was like, all right, this is our test for humans, and they really pushed for this. So
Mm-hmm.
let's kind of keep them at arm's length a little bit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think kind of where that goes. But
Mm-hmm.
so that's a good list. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a good 10. We did pretty good. Angelico got on the list, so I feel good about that.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next topic, I want to talk about the villains of Star Trek. Now, I don't want to rank anybody. I just want to talk about them a little bit. And I want to get your feelings on who works where and what, maybe like not just what captain, but what Starfleet's commands could you see the Cardassians and the Enterprise D go up against each other? Could they handle it, or could the Enterprise, the first 1701, handle the Cardassians or the Romulans of their time?
Well, their VFX were much older, so they probably wouldn't have been able to keep up with the new VFX of the night. No, I don't know.
Well, let's start here. Let's go from who in your opinion was maybe not the most evil, but the best villain on Star Trek. The one that stands out the most.
The one that immediately comes to my mind is Dukat.
Okay.
Because he's probably the villain we see the most of and get to know the best. There's the most character building around him, and you see what he's like. And he has a daughter, and he, is willing to kill her to not dishonor his family or whatever that was.
Yeah.
He's just the most fleshed out, and while he's kind of he's a bad guy, but he's got you get to know him in a way that you kind of, some of the things you can kind of understand why he thinks that he has to do the things that he does.
Yeah, they did give him some sympathy. I'll give you that.
Yeah, he's the most fleshed out as a character of all the villains, I think.
Now, what would you say but yes, Ducat being Cardassian, for anybody who's listening and what doesn't know that, who would you say I don't want to say the overall race, because like not every Klingon is evil or an enemy. Not every Cardassian is, not every Romulan is. But who would you say the overall factions maybe out of the grouping of adversaries that Starfleet had?
You're talking about like the entire factions?
Yeah.
Like the Klingons or the Romulans or.
No, I like your answer of Ducat.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to hear that, but now I'm going on to a more broader sense of like, is it the Klingons? Is it the Cardassians? Is it the Romulans? Is it the Dominion? I mean, I would say the Dominion was probably the one that gave Starfleet the most.
Yeah, they had a lot of things going for them with the they had the strong men, the why am I forgetting their name right now?
I can't remember.
The Jem'Hadar, and then the changelings themselves were they could be anywhere, and so they had that threat going on. So they had a lot on their hands with the Dominion, I guess.
Yeah. Which for me, if you have that type of power structure, but they were defeated very quickly. So, but like somebody like the Klingons, if you think about it, were around for hundreds of years in almost a Cold War standoff until they finally started to. The peace finally kind of came about in Star Trek VI. Like they started to finally having a treaty. But even after then, it was still kind of like I see you, I know where you are, sort of thing. Yeah. So like comparative to how long it took Starfleet to deal with each, and I'm not just saying the Klingons, even the Romulans were
But really. I mean, like there was, I think in the lore of Star Trek, wasn't there a Klingon war?
Early on, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I remember Scotty has like sort of a prejudice against Klingons.
Yeah. Well, kind of everybody does in the old Star Trek.
Yeah, but like mostly because he fought against them.
Yeah. Oh, you mean like he fought against them before?
Yeah, remember when they got in a fight with was it the Tribble episode?
Oh yes. He called the Enterprise a garbage scow.
Which another one, you get Cisco going back in time and meeting Kirk, and being all fanboy about it too.
Yeah, I mean I guess because we didn't really see the actual war with the Klingons, it may have only been as long as the Dominion War, because didn't it return the tide for the Federation, like getting other. It's like they had the Klingons. It's been a long time since I've watched Deep Space Nine, but didn't they had the Klingons on their side already, and they had to convince the Romulans to get on their side too?
Yeah, for the Dominion War. They did.
Yeah, but then wasn't it like a last minute where like they somehow convinced the Cardassians to ditch the.
They do eventually. I don't remember how it all turned.
Yeah, out. I think that's what kind of turned the tides, is that the Cardassian dropped out and they started fighting alongside the. Well, I could be misremembering.
The Cardassians had their own civil war going on.
Oh, okay.
And that was like kind of where that led into. It led to them having such a war and being starved in certain areas and things like that. Mm-hmm. That it turned around, and I think they were able to like kind of convince them, like, what are you doing? Like, just get out of it, because they didn't team up with Starfleet.
Okay.
I don't remember them teaming up with Starfleet, but I think
you might well be right. I'm not remembering exactly how all that played out at the end. I really need to watch that show again.
Yeah.
I need to watch it all again. Like The Next Generation, I will seriously, like, I'll start it at season 3 and just let it play in the background all the time. I've seen that one so many times, but all the other ones, I don't binge them as often.
You know what? Actually, let me ask you about that, because last night on the discussion panel, we kind of talked about, and I said, I have a soft spot in my heart for the first 2 seasons of Star Trek Next Generation.
Uh-huh.
And I was met with quite a few groans in the discussion panel. And I want to get your opinion on it. Like, I realize it's night and day once, 3, 4 definitely, and on of Next Generation, how they were handled and the storylines and everything else compared to the first 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But what's your take on the first 2 seasons?
My first 2 seasons, or my view on the first 2 seasons, is just that to me they're skippable. But there are some good episodes in those first 2 seasons. It's just that it's more uneven, and I just if I'm gonna binge the show, I just started at season 3. I not that I have to. I can start it at season 1, but it's just, if I want to get through the whole series in a week or something, I'll skip the first 2 seasons.
I mean, yes, there are some episodes.
Like Measure of a Man is
season 2.
It's first or second season. Yeah. That's one of the best episodes in the series, and trying to think of others right now, but yeah.
Listen, it is what it is. Like you said, it was Planet of the Week, especially in those first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
But I think it worked out, and there was some argument to the facts last night about the Next Generation. All characters are the same from the beginning and the end. I tend to disagree. I'm not saying there was much character in a way of character changing or adapting over time, but I will say that I think things did change. I mean,
Voyager was the worst for that. Voyager was the one where it's literally nobody changed. Tom Paris and B'Elanna got married. Harry Kim's like an ensign the whole time. He's serving on a ship in a Delta Quadrant, and doesn't even get a field promotion at all. Like, the poor guy. He'll build the Delta Flyer and stuff, and he just can't catch a break.
No, unfortunately, but he didn't deserve one either. So I mean, that's how it comes out. So asking that, like going that route, and kind of like as we're slowing down a little bit, and I want to get into one more thing before we kind of finish off, but this first and second season, you're right. I mean, there's a lot about it that you watch on TNG, but to say the first and second season are unwatchable or they're the worst.
Oh, not unwatchable.
Not you. That's okay. Kind of where I met with some people on that. So not you. I know you said, like you said, there are some episodes and stuff like that, and I think starting off, Tommy, who's 8 and he's starting to get into Star Trek, starting off with at the beginning, those episodes are fun for kids.
Oh, sure.
You have a lot more Wesley in it, who's a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it opens it up. And I think if you let them watch those first 2 seasons before going on to the third, they'll also tend to get into the original series.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are good jumping off parts especially for kids, to watch those first 2 seasons and then be like, yeah, this show, which was the original, was a lot like that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you show them the 3rd season, 4th season, and kind of where it goes from there, then I don't know. I just feel like that would be a good jumping off part, maybe for youngsters.
Mm-hmm.
But I am open to opinions on what they think. They're wrong opinions, but whatever. No, I'm just kidding. Again, it's always a soft spot in my heart.
Yeah.
That. I cannot watch them a lot.
Yeah.
Pluto streaming service has a Star Trek channel, and it's basically the first three seasons of Next Gen, going around.
Oh, only the first three?
Yeah, well, then they'll sprinkle in other episodes from other seasons, like the good ones. But for the most part, to cover the 24-hour cycle, there'll be a lot of first, second, and third seasons.
Interesting.
But then you go over to BBC America.
Yeah.
And you can catch DS9, you can catch all the good episodes of Next Gen. So it kind of works out.
Well, it's all on Netflix now, too.
Yeah, I go back, but my thing is, like, the commercials are nice because, like you said, you put it on in the background. Like, if I keep it on Netflix, it's just, like, going to ask me every 2 or 3 episodes, like, do you want to still watch?
Yeah.
Because if I put it on TV, it's like, yeah, all right, yeah. Mm-hmm. I'll give you your royalty check today. But... yeah, I don't know. I just there's always going to be a soft spot in my heart for those, and I had to say it, especially since it was the experts, and they are experts, and I am not putting that down. These people knew so much, and you would have done well on that show last night. In terms of Star Trek, although you probably would have been asking the engineer on the show more about real, actual space most of the time. But yeah, we had a really good conversation. But I guess I'm just enough of a novice to like the first and second season.
Oh no, that's okay. I mean, if like they came up on BBC America, I'd sit and watch them. You know.
Yeah. Now I will say this: I want to get on to the Kurtzman era of Star Trek, the JJ world, if you will. I know you haven't watched the second season of Discovery yet, but you have watched Picard, right?
I've watched Picard.
You've watched the first season of...
like the first third of the first season of Discovery.
Okay. Have you watched, what do you call it? Any of Lower Decks or any of the shorts?
I've not seen Lower Decks yet. I actually didn't know it was coming. It was out already until I saw people talking about it online.
I watched first episode. I didn't dislike it. It made me laugh a few times, and that's kind of what they're going for. So I don't know. It kind of broadens the horizon. It's weird to me. It's so weird. It's weird to me that Seth MacFarlane, the master of animation over here, goes to them and says, "I want to do this," and he brings them to Orville, and he's like, "I want to do this in Star Trek," and they turn him down. Mm-hmm. So it makes the show, and the show is like probably the most Star Trek show out now. Mm-hmm. If you haven't watched it, you need to watch it.
I have watched. I don't. What season are they on now?
2, 3 is coming to Hulu.
3's what?
Hulu bought them, so 3 is coming to Hulu.
Oh, okay. I think I've watched the first 2 seasons then.
And that wasn't a cancellation and pickup. That was a Hulu bought them. It was like, no, we'll up your budget. Okay. So because it's that good of a show, but like it fits perfectly within, like it's like Next Gen or DS9 things like it, they could have done this about a ship that's like off and a side character ship. Like they're not the important explorers. They're the ones that go and they make runs, or they're ambassadors for something, you know? Yeah. And through it, they're building themselves up through their adventures to becoming a more prominent ship. And it's very cool how they do it. And it's just really well done. I think you'd really enjoy it. It's very reminiscent of TNG, the good years. So you take that show, and he took that to Star Trek, and the people of Star Trek, they said, no, you're out of here. Now Orville is the most Star Trek thing out now. And now you get Lower Decks, which is an animation that's almost trying to be on par with like a Family Guy or that. Not in looks or, not aesthetically, but like the comedy sort of feel to it and stuff like that, tied into Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's about a ship that isn't like a main running ship in Starfleet. It's just they kind of go off and they do secondary things and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm just like, you could have had it, man. You could have had it. So, I
actually had that idea back in high school.
I know you told me that. Actually, I do remember you telling me that.
Yeah, of a ship that was like the no-name ship, the ship that usually blows up before the Enterprise shows up and then investigates what happened to them.
Oh God! Oh, in the episode Conspiracy, the one that blows up, the Horatio, Picard and Beverly's friends blows up on the ship. Conspiracy, the episode where they never resolved it.
Yeah. Actually, what they were trying to do in the first season was there were little tiny threads that led up to Conspiracy, and it was originally going to lead up to the Borg, but they didn't have the tech wasn't there. Like they didn't have it ready to go. Like they couldn't pull off the best of both worlds basically yet. So okay. It was originally supposed to be the Borg were going to be introduced as like this big bad at the end of the first season, but then they turned it into the weird neckworm thing.
That's pretty funny. That would have been so much more epic. But no, so I want to talk to you about Kurtzman. How do you feel that Kurtzman's holding up in the realm of Star Trek?
I mean, to me, I'm of the philosophy that any Star Trek is good to have it. So it's being kept alive, and it's still, I'm looking forward to the Strange New Worlds is the new one? Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that format again of the kind of utopia future where things are better and they're out exploring and destroying God computers. I'm looking forward to seeing what that is. I enjoyed Picard. I thought it had pacing issues, because it took like 4 episodes to finally get moving, but I guess I could kind of understand why they did that, but otherwise I enjoyed that series. And then Discovery I feel like was too different. It was too I'll have to let it grow on me. I have to go and watch it, like I said, and it was just kind of a shock, and it's like what am I looking at? And I don't like in Discovery the arguing fellow crewmates arguing with each other, and it's like, because that was actually something that Roddenberry stipulated shouldn't happen in the original show, and that crewmates will all be focused on working the problem together. And there might be little, you can cite examples of where some people.
Oh, there's always going to be some sort of bickering, but you're right. It shouldn't be that. It should be.
Yeah, characters were never adversarial. Like they didn't hate each other. Though you could kind of argue that maybe McCoy and Spock were a bit adversarial at times.
Well, I'll tell you, in the second season of Discovery, they kind of put an end to that, and I think that's because that was a big complaint.
Uh-huh.
I was like, why are they bickering all the time? Why are they fighting? Like it wasn't Roddenberry's view of it. And then they do start working together to the weird thing that J.J. Abrams does for some reason, or Kurtzman even writes it that way, where they're all talking and they're each taking a different part of the sentence.
Yeah.
And I hate that. I hate that type of dialogue, but I think that it was such a heavy-handed way to be like, they do work together, see? And then a lot of it had to do with, and then they kind of, I don't want to say they shoehorned it in, but it's so weird. It's like they wrote themselves. I'm going to spoil it a little bit for you.
Okay.
That's okay. Because the first season was supposed to take place so she could be Spock's sister, that we never heard of. They set it before Enterprise, before the original series, I should say, and then when they realize like, wow, your technology is just way too advanced for what's going on, and everything looks way too advanced from the original series. The second season, they're like, okay, we'll bring Pike in, and we'll bring that's why they finished with the Enterprise at the end. And then they start it up, and it's Pike comes on and starts captaining the Discovery. So you get all this stuff, and like they're shoehorning a lot in, and now Spock is who they're searching for, and all that stuff. And then at the end, it's like they wrote themselves to a way. I'm hoping the third season will be better because of how they wrote it. They take the Discovery out of that time.
Okay.
And send it to like 1,000 years into the future.
Okay.
So it's because it seems so out of place, they took it and put it out of place. So we'll see how that works in the third season.
Okay.
But yeah, as far as the second season goes, like, and then we also got like a very cool Captain Pike. We got Rebecca Romijn playing number 1. We got Spock, who seems good. It's Ethan Peck, who is Gregory Peck's grandson.
Okay.
Who plays Spock. So like, and they seem like they're gonna really get into the characters. The Enterprise looks really cool. The bridge and everything. I think you really like it, but you know, they didn't go into the future, of course. They went back to the Enterprise. So I think by doing that and taking the element that didn't work from as before the original series and putting it 1,000 years into the future, it's like, okay, now it works. You know. So we'll see what happens. So it just took a 2 seasons for them to get into an actual place that works for them.
Okay.
So, and not to mention that the Discovery is very reminiscent of the Enterprise J. So there you go.
It's based on one of the old I'm forgetting his name right now. The guy who did he did tons of like concept art for Star Wars and Star Trek, I believe. Can't remember his name right now. But one of his early concepts for the Enterprise, the original Enterprise, was that big wedge shaped with the nacelles on the outside of the triangle. Then it's basically what the Discovery is.
It's not a beautiful ship. So yeah, I'll give you that. And so like that's just kind of where they went. So like with Kurtzman, like, all right, so maybe they're gonna fix it now. I know they're kind of in some hot water at the moment.
Okay.
The creators, like Paramount, CBS, they want to continue with a lot of the ideas. Like CBS was the big factor behind get Pike his own show. Everybody likes him. You know, like we'll just do the Enterprise again with Pike. Everybody likes him. Everybody liked their whole thing. They're like, make it work with Discovery. So they did. They sent him 1,000 years into the future, and we'll see if it works. And I think they're like, get Picard on track.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think that because there's been such a drop in that CBS All Access, a lot of people are like, all right, get this shit together. That's just the way it's going to work. So hopefully we'll get more. And I want to see Guinan in the second season. I want to see Worf for the Enterprise. I want to see what happens. I really liked the interactions of Picard. I like the nostalgia of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Frakes coming back and directing, and coming back and on the show a couple of times, and just seeing a lot of people like 7 of 9 coming back, and you got some cool stuff. So give me more. Give me Geordi. You know, where's Beverly?
Mm-hmm.
Is she on her science vessel? Come on, where is she?
Her ball ship.
Yeah. Is she in the neutral zone right now? Is that where she is? You know, I want to see more. I want to see what's going on with everything. So, but what about you, man? What would you like to see from Star Trek going forward?
Like I said, I'm excited for the Strange New Worlds. I'm intrigued by the Section 31 show. Curious what they're gonna do with that, because they're trying to hype it up like, oh, it's gonna be totally something you're not expecting or something like that. I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm expecting already, so you're right.
All right.
But Yeah, I with Discovery, I don't have an opinion on Discovery yet because it's just.
Well, watch it and give me an opinion, damn it.
Yeah, I'll get back to you.
Just put it on in the background. And see what
No,
happens.
that's my problem. Is like so many times I'm doing something on the computer or something. I don't want to put on a show that I haven't seen
No,
because I want to be able to focus on it. And a lot of my time spent watching TV lately is rewatching Community, rewatching the original series of Star Trek. But yeah, I should just watch Discovery.
Yes, but you should also watch Orville.
Orville? Well, yeah, I've watched it.
Oh, you did watch it. Okay. Watch the whole thing. Good. All right. We're going to finish this off. I first want to say, I'm going to give you one more topic, but I first want to say, dude, it's awesome that you came on the show. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks for having me.
You're always welcome on the show. One of my best friends, Star Trek aficionado and avid fan, except for Discovery. Mr.
Not
Joe.
that I'm not a fan, I just haven't gotten into it yet.
But Mr. Joe Loud, thank you very much. He's visual effects artist extraordinaire as well. You've seen a lot of his work and you've adored it. Absolutely. But let's end it this way. So Ariel from Ride the Omnibus podcast, when we were talking about Cisco and Kirk, she made the comment, it's more about Picard, I'm sorry. It's more about Picard getting taken by the enemy. That makes him maybe behind Cisco. He does get taken by the enemy, not a lot, but a bit, because he's Mr. Diplomacy.
I guess I could see that yeah, like he was captured by the Borg and assimilated. He was captured by the Cardassians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does. He does. He's a captain, but that's how he strengthens his diplomacy skills, I guess.
But did Cisco ever have to John McClane Deep Space Nine?
No, that's fair. He did not. Jesus Christ. That's true. He did have to do that in First Contact. So who do you put? Is it First Contact that gives?
No. Starship Mine. The episode Starship Mine.
Oh, that's right. And
the only one on the ship, and the guys are trying to hijack the Enterprise.
So, well, technically, he did it twice then, because First Contact was basically a Die Hard situation.
Yeah, I kind of. Well, that was more like it was sort of a battle taking place on their ship. Like they were assimilating deck by deck, and
yeah. Okay, so it was.
But he did go, yeah, like one man his way back to save Data.
Starship Mine for was definitely Die Hard, and First Contact was definitely Die Hard too. So that's basically what it goes down to. Die Harder. All right, so I'm guessing you're going to put Picard in the number one spot.
I have to.
That's very fair.
But with Cisco at a very close second.
I will agree to your terms, sir. So
and like I wanted to agree with what a lot of your guests last night were saying about how they felt that if we had seen Cisco in a position like Picard, where he was like kind of what I was bringing up earlier, if Cisco was in a Planet of the Week kind of situation, that we may have seen more of a Picard-like Cisco, and but he was more of the nitty-gritty, down and dirty kind of man of action kind of guy.
Yes, that's true.
And so I think the reason I brought that up before was because of why I guess where my bias probably comes from is that Picard represents somebody who I wish our leaders were like, and that like that Cisco could be that guy, but he had to deal with a crappy situation, and that like disappoints me a little bit. Like when I was, when Deep Space Nine first came out, I was kind of a purist and didn't like it because I was like, what? They're just gonna stay in one place every week, you know? And so I didn't appreciate it, and I didn't really watch the show at first. And it wasn't till later that I watched it and appreciated it. But it was different from the utopia that I was seeing in Star Trek. And
yeah,
it was trying to show maybe some of the flaws in how that society was like, don't show me the flaws, show me how we make it better. Show me how we make our society what we should be like, you know.
I do like that. It does give you a feeling of yes, even if we do have a utopia, some parts of society are going to have to be a problem. Like that is a show that's very much a Western. That is the captain of a very distant, out in the middle of nowhere West fort with a scruffy group of cavalrymen.
Like Bashir even says it in the first episode, like how this is frontier medicine, you know.
Absolutely. So yeah, and that's what it was. It was that frontier cavalrymen having to protect their fort from all of these different factions, and then a war goes on and everything else. So I liked that aspect of like the deep reaches of space are still going to have some issues. It's not going to be what Starfleet and the Federation have built in their areas. But you're right. I do like the idea of next gen and that continuum.
And that isn't to say that I dislike Deep Space Nine. No. It was a departure from, and it kind of goes into where things have come with Picard, you know, like showing this future where maybe the Federation aren't the bastion of progress or whatever that we saw before, that they're stubborn and they're kind of paranoid and slow to react to a problem, and they tucked tail and ran when the Romulans needed them and stuff like that. And it's like, you know, Picard's complaining, it's like, it wasn't Starfleet, and yeah, so I like it for what it is. But that's why I said why I'm looking forward to the Strange New Worlds and seeing the hopeful future again.
And I like that even more because that was them. Like, it was a utopia, but it still kind of wasn't. Like, there was still things that they had to experience, but if you went back to Earth, it was utopia. You know, to Vulcan, it's a utopia. Like, so that each one of the federations were safer at that point. It was, they had to go out to find the adventure. Whereas with next gen, like, the adventure was kind of knocking at the door at all times, like, you know, adversaries things. But I will give it to Picard. A lot of people said, like, I don't understand how Starfleet is so terrible to Picard and why Picard doesn't trust Starfleet. And I was like, you obviously never watched next gen. Because the biggest adversaries he faced in next gen were all of these damn corrupt admirals. And that's where I'm going to end it. And that's why he cut through a lot of bureaucracy in that whole show, and a lot of corruption and such, and in Utopia.
Well, there was, I'm trying to think, because there was one guy who was possessed by an alien, and Nechayev, she wasn't corrupt. She was just kind of a hard ass.
But even then, like, they always were doubting him or whatever else, and then, like, you had the conspiracy in the beginning, and you know, all the way into insurrection, and there's just always something going on. But you know, you can understand. And then, like, when he's like, "We're Starfleet, we're supposed to help the Romulans," and they're like, "No, we're good," and he gets fired. It's like, yeah, there's no reason. Of course, he's gonna, like, resign to his little hole at the chateau and just kind of be a beaten man, is because they finally beat him and drummed him out of Starfleet.
Yeah.
And they've been trying to do it for years, but now he's back and he's stronger than ever because he's an android. And that's where I'm going to leave it. I want to thank my guest, Joe Loud, for being on the show tonight to talk about Star Trek. Thank you for my sponsor, Skyline Indie Film Fest. Passes are on sale now. Go buy them. There's a link on the scenesnobs.com. Join us every Tuesday at live at 9:30 p.m. Next week, my guest is Sasha, the Princess of Darkness herself. So we'll be jumping on the show. We have some good topics planned for that, so stay tuned. Tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. live, we are going. We have Behind the Box podcast. We were talking about the cult Trek, the cult side of Trek, and we're going to be comparing the movies. Our recommendations last week were to watch Space Seed, The Wrath of Khan, and Into Darkness, and we're going to be comparing those storylines. So as we go on with that, we will have a special Star Trek painting on Thursday with Rob Paints the Movies, and then of course on Friday night, it's fun time with Friday night showcase. We have about 5 or 6 guests coming on with Trek. We're all going to have some drinks. We're going to play some trivia, and we're going to go right along with it. And there will be prizes attached. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a good time. Thank you again, my good friends, Joe Loud, for jumping on the show. I miss you, buddy. I always love talking to you. So this was a lot of fun. Make sure you go check us out at the Scene Snob on social media, and we will talk to you guys next week. Have a good night, everybody.
See you later.